Hi, everybody. This is Simply Sherri and with Pop Culture Uncovered, and welcome to my May-June book report. I have been busy and also under the weather recently, so I wasn't able to get my May one out when I normally would. So we're going to get into it right now. So today is Thursday, July 9th. I know I'm late again. I apologize. So, first part of the book report, we start with, as I've mentioned before, in each one of these reports, I'm working on the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge, which is available on Storygraph. And as of the end of June, I am 65% of the way through, having done 15 of the 23 prompts, and I'm really having a good time. Really having a good time. And I have completed 23 books so far this year. Yay. So let's go through and see what I've completed for May and June. First, I have finally completed Beyond the Glittering World, which is an anthology of Indigenous women. It is poetry, it is short stories about a future. It's about feminism, it's about family, it's about grief. This is so excellently done. If you get a chance, please, 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 please read this. Um, I could go on for hours on how great this book is. And I'm very happy that I took the time to read it. I actually need to buy a copy so that it's sitting on my shelf. Please get it. One of my favorite stories. I cannot remember the author's name right now, but she was discussing a statue and how much it looked like her mother and how they were working through the grief of the mother's passing. Oh, beautiful story. Beautiful story. Beyond the Glittering World. And this for the anti-brain rot reading challenge uh, was for my short story and anthology collection. Oh, this was my anthology pick. Um, there's also a selection for being an Indigenous author. I could have combined those two. I didn't, but I could have done that, but I didn't. I'm reading something else for that selection. And y'all will find out about that maybe later this month. I don't know. I may get into it depending on what happens. So the second book I finished in May actually is Guess Again by Charlie Dunlea. This is a psychological thriller about a detective. His name is Ethan Hall, and he is asked to come back and research the disappearance of the governor's daughter. There was a serial killer on the loose during the time that the daughter went missing. Um, that is connected to Ethan. This book was crazy. This book was crazy. It is so good. Definitely a four read, a 4.4 out of 5 read. Um, I it definitely ends on a cliffhanger, and I want them to come back and give me my second book right now. I want the second book. I want to continue reading. Excellent piece. I guess again by Charlie Dunlea. And this was a Chaos Book Club selection. They were hounding me for weeks to get into this book so that we could talk about it as a group. And I really appreciate that they did hound me the way they did because this book is so good. Next, I read, as this was a palate cleanser, and there's another reason why I read this book. This is a Lee Child, Gone Tomorrow. This is actually a reread. Anytime you see a Lee Child on my list, yes, I have read them all. And as soon as the new one comes out, I read the new one. I read Gone Tomorrow because the new season of Reacher, the television show, will be out in August, and this is the book that the show will be based on, and I just wanted to read it again. In this book, Reacher is in New York, and he encounters a young woman who is giving the vibe that she is a suicide bomber, but something else is going on with her. and he ends up, as Reacher always does, ensnared in the mystery of what is going on this woman's life and how it connects to a larger crime issue that is going on, in this case, in New York. Um, there's politicians, there's terrorists. It is such a good book. It is such a good book. Um, Again, I enjoy it. I'm very curious to see um, how the casting is done with the characters, um, with the villains, because the primary villains in this book are women, which is unusual for Reacher. Most of his villains are men, but this one, the primary villain, is a woman. Excellent read. Again, Lee Child, Gone Tomorrow. Next, back into the challenge. One of the prompts is a Latinx author. I decided to read a book from the author is from Brazil, Elena Alvarez Cruz, with translation by Benjamin Brooks. Um, this book is called Solitaria, and it is about class, a little bit about class, not a little bit, very much about class warfare, how the rich treat the people that work with them and for them, how discrimination is ever present. I think as a Black American woman, we hope or we believe that the discrimination that we see here in America is not as prevalent as it is everywhere else, but Solitaria definitely tells you it definitely is. This book was written right after the large health crisis from a couple of years ago, and that is definitely shows up in this piece. Um, but how people are treated, how people are forgiven for bad acts. It is told from three different angles. It is told from the angle of a young woman growing up in the home of the rich family. It is told from the maid's point of view. There's the maid and her daughter. So the first part is from the daughter, the second part is from the maid. The third part is actually the solitaria from the room, telling the story of everything she witnessed over the years. Um, Beautifully written. Ended kind of abruptly for me, but excellent read. I really enjoyed reading this one, Solitaria by Elena Alvarez Cruz. The next book I read was called Orme by Bilal Girmay. This book was originally written in Aramaic and translated into English. The original was published in 83. The translation came out in 2025. This is a modern classic. This book is well received. I had not heard about it before. I did a Google search looking for a Black author translation book that I can get into, and this is the book that came back. Um, the book is about Zagai, who is a journalist with the military of Ethiopia during the conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea. What sparked my interest in this book is that the author, Gamera, was actually went missing about a year or two after this book was published and has never been seen or heard from again. And I'm double checking, but I believe just recently it was the Derge government um, admitted that they were involved in his disappearance, but he has never been seen or heard from again. They don't even know where his body is. Uh, so the book was written. contemporary to the events that it is discussing. The book was published in 83. It is discussing what they called the Red Star Campaign, which was a particular battle between Ethiopia and Eritrea. And from the primary character's point of view, we are going through his roller coasters of emotion as we are, as who he believes he is fighting for and what war is. That's where we are. Um, Very good read, extremely good read. This is also a book that when you go to read it, before you pick it up to read, before you pick it up, do some research on the Red Star campaign. Um, to a few friends that I discussed this with, reading this book for me was would be kind of like somebody not from America trying to read Gone with the Wind without having the context of the Civil War and what was going on and the nature of the not so much the conflict but like the atmosphere of America during those 4 years. That's what I admit, I did not quite understand it at first. In fact, I got a chapter in on the audiobook and I said, oh, I need to pause this. Let me pick up something else and then I will circle back. And that's exactly what I did. I paused it, started another book, which I'll get into in a minute, and then came back and finished this. This is extremely good. The book was banned as soon as it came out. And you find out that the word orme means pointless. So excellent read. You have a war story. You have a little bit of a journalism story. You have a little bit of a love story. I will say one thing, there is a thread that the author opened up that I wish she had pulled on a little bit more. But other than that, this is an excellent read. Please add it to your TBR. Excellent book. Excellent book. Why did I read this one? I'll explain. So I read Robert Louis Stevens' The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This was the classic story written in 1886. I did the audiobook, which was 2 hours. It was something that could be done in a day. Um, I realized I think some of my classmates in high school may have had to read this book. I have never read this book. I've never read this short story. The story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll is researching how to make himself a better person um, and starts mixing elixirs, and you get his alter ego, which is Hyde. What I found interesting about this was the description of Hyde in the book. One moment. Hyde in appearance is described as pale and dwarfish and gives the immediate impression of deformity. He is noticeably shorter and stockier than Jekyll and moves and almost like an ape-like agility and is has an unpleasant and unsettling smile. Yes, Jekyll it was and Jekyll the doctor is like tall and thin, and Hyde is kind of short. So it's like, how are we getting out of this in the same person? That description of Hyde I found very interesting because my first thought, when I heard Jekyll and Hyde, was the Hyde that they show you or give you in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This actor, whose name I don't have in front of me right now, but this presentation of him. And Hyde gets so much larger than the Jekyll persona, who is shown tall and skinny. And then you get this giant of a man. But that's what the book says. The book says that Hyde is a dwarf. Just, interesting thing. And then while I'm talking about this book to my partner, this is also a Jekyll and Hyde tale, The Incredible Hulk and Bruce Banner. But again, I had because it the concepts never connected to me until I read the book. But again, we're also at a situation where the Hyde in this case is larger than the original character. Now, the reason I picked up this book will be in two slides because there's another book I want to talk to you about. When my partner and I take a road trip, we love to stick on an audiobook, something that we're both interested in listening to, and discuss it. We love it, have a great time. Last year, we read Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Byron, which is not a retelling of the Cinderella story, but what happens like way after the Cinderella story. This is a dystopian tale, and the women in the county kind of like a mix of Cinderella and Handmaid's Tale. Like you kind of have to do the pageantry of the Cinderella story, dress up and have somebody bring you clothes to take you to the ball and be chosen. And if you're not chosen, you could be exiled or killed. And this story is how the women rebel against this society and try to end it. Excellent read. Again, I did not read that this month, but I wanted to bring it up because that gets to why we picked the next book that we picked, which is also why I read Jekyll and Hyde. The next book we read is called My Dear Henry, also by Kaylin Byron, and released in 2023. This book is part of a collection of what they call remixed classics. It is a YA selection um, and a retelling of the Jekyll and Hyde story. Jekyll and Hyde meet in medical school. Hi, this is Editing Sherri. I just realized I made a mistake. Jekyll and Hyde do not meet in medical school. Uh, Utterson and Hyde meet in medical school. So this tale kind of gives you some background on the friendship of Utterson and Jekyll before the actual tale of Jekyll and Hyde starts. They are gay. They fall in love. This goes into how their families um, perceive them and react to them. Pick up this book. Pick up this read. Even if you're not in a YA, even if you're not in a horror, this book was so good. We were looking for a 4 hour read because that was how long our road trip was going to be. This ends up being an 8 hour read that we just finished a couple of days ago. The writing, the quotes that you're going to get out of this book is so good. I do not think I could recommend this book enough. And the book was so well done. My partner and I looked at the rest of the collection of these remixed classics, and we have decided that we will probably read one or two more. Um, Clash of Steel. This one is a retelling of Treasure Island. There's one in here. I believe that's the Secret Garden. Oh no, I do not have a picture of that one, of this one that I'm talking about. There is a Dorian Gray retelling. I mean, I really want to read that book. So again, these are remixed classics from Macmillan Press. I've in. And the whole collection, this is what I meant to say, the entire collection of stories is written by marginalized authors. Um, they are given, I'm glad I came back. So for My Dear Henry, compared to the original tale, um, there's an outline of major plot points and events that happen in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They do show up here in My Dear Henry. All the character names come over. But she brings out a different side of the story. The author brings a different side of the story out and a different aspect to the story out. And that is what the collection of the remix Imagine Classics are. If I remember correctly, when I saw the one that is for Dorian Gray, um, he, the primary character is trans femme. So, just I can't wait to read that. So again, these are so please rediscovering the classics. There's a Wuthering Heights in here. There is a Robin Hood in here, The Travelers Along the Way. Please, 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 please go pick these up. I really enjoyed them, and I cannot speak highly enough about the one or two the one that I have read so far, My Dear Henry. Excellent book, excellent book. So what am I currently reading? I am currently listening to Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke and Daggermouth at the suggestion of Yesteryear was a PCU selection because we know Anne Hathaway has optioned the movie, which will probably come out in about a year or two. So we're probably we'll hear more about that. So I wanted to go ahead and jump into that. Daggermouth is a Chaos Book Club collection selection. And remember a little while ago when I was reading Orme and I said I had to jump out because I needed to research? While I was out, I started to read the Thursday Murder Club. So for July, my goal is to complete all three of these books, and pretty sure that's going to happen because I'm definitely reading and listening at a pace that I should be able to get all three of these books done, and then possibly pick up something else. So that is the end of my May and June book report. What's on your TBR? Let me know. Drop them in the comments. Again, this is Sherri with Pop Culture Uncovered, and I can't wait to see y'all again until next month.